and the saga continues. Welcome back to the channel. We are going to be talking about Oscar De La Hoya and Ryan Garcia and the house that Tank Davis burned to the ground, as you have both of them going back and forth about what happened after the Gervonta Davis-Ryan Garcia fight. And it looks like more than likely that Ryan Garcia is going to be getting up out of there and not fighting with Golden Boy Promotion anymore. But before we get into that, I just want to tell you real fast about today's sponsor, the Boxing Showtime app. It's a very useful app that keeps you updated on all things boxing, and you can keep up with the latest fights, where to watch them, the latest news, and a lot more. For any hardcore boxing fan like myself, and most likely all of y'all, I would definitely recommend downloading it. And it also is most definitely a big support to the channel. It's available for both Apple and Android, and you can find the link in the description below. Thanks for considering downloading Boxing Showtime's app. But let's get back into the subject matter of the video. Now, what happened? First things first. If you didn't recall, Ryan Garcia got knocked out by Gervonta Tank Davis in a fight that took place on April 22nd, which is about 6 weeks ago. And before the fight, Ryan Garcia was complaining about the rehydration clause that did not allow him to come in any more than 146 pounds the morning of the fight. Oscar De La Hoya was complaining about it. They were complaining about it the entire time in the lead up to the fight. After the fight is over, Ryan Garcia goes to the press conference, and no one other than his parents and his advisor go to the press conference with him. No Joe Goosen, no Oscar De La Hoya, no Bernard Hopkins. No one is there to sit next to Ryan Garcia and take questions from the press about the Ryan Garcia Gervonta Davis fight. So yesterday, Ryan Garcia spoke out and said that Tank's team cared more about me than my own team after the loss. It was the worst. He said it was just one of those shots where your body just wants to do it, but you can't. Everything's shutting down. Like, man, why can't I move? Everything was drained out of me. Out of me already, though. Imagine you being dehydrated on top of getting hit in the liver. It hurt more than anything. He was going through a lot at that moment, or I was going through a lot at the moment. I was just like, F it, today is not my day. I told Davis in the back, my legs are weak. Everything feels weak because they didn't let me rehydrate the right way. So as you can see, he is still complaining about that. However, he said, if I had won, I wouldn't have got to see. Oh, excuse me. When talking about the people not showing up, he said, if I would have won, I wouldn't have been able to see that. I lost. I saw everybody leave me. And then I just have to see who's really there for me. After the fight, nobody was there for me. Like, my team just didn't come to the press conference. Ain't going to do nothing. I was left with somebody who betrayed me in camp. They weren't trying to look out for me after the fight. I was left with that. It was the worst. I had Tank's team really care more about me than my own team. I had God with me the whole way. So I'm going to understand who is there for me, right? Now, that was obvious to everybody in the building that was just some whackness on the part of Golden Boy Promotions not to be with him during the press conference. But Oscar De La Hoya responds, said, what the F, Ryan Garcia? It's been almost 2 months and you're still crying about the post presser. The blame for your loss is on you and your advisor, Lupe. He is the only one who pushed you to accept that insane rehydration clause, and that is the reason you lost. Man up and own that. Now, here's my thing. First of all, both of them need to own up to what they did. First and foremost, Ryan Garcia should absolutely positively stop talking about that rehydration clause. I don't know how much money that he made in that fight, but I have to assume it was a lot, seeing as it did a $1.2 million pay-per-view and a $22 million gate, and he's getting a percentage of that pay-per-view. Look, man, whatever you had to do in order to get that fight, Ryan Garcia had to do, all right? Whatever he had to do to get that fight, he had to do, because it isn't like those type of fights are just hanging around for everybody to get. And so if he wanted to, and I recall the specifics of it, if he wanted to come in above 135 pounds, weigh 136 pounds, weigh 140 pounds, and not make the weight at the weigh-in, then it wasn't unreasonable for those guys to say, okay, well, you can only go up a certain amount. The amount that he went up is no more than what the IBF rehydration clause is that IBF champions have to adhere to. But on the other side of it, Oscar De La Hoya, what difference does it make if your fighter made mistakes in the negotiation? Is that Oscar De La Hoya is not saying that's why he didn't show up to the press conference, right? I mean, he knew, win or lose, that he had accepted that rehydration clause, right? So what would prevent you from showing up to the press conference and sitting there? Now he says, oh, I was getting death threats. Look, man, death threats from who? The media? Like who exactly was going to come get you in that middle of that press conference, man? Both these guys are a little bit full of it, both Ryan Garcia and Oscar De La Hoya. And to see it carry on this long is just real, real funny. Now, at the same time, though, we'll see whether or not Ryan Garcia actually does something about the complaints that he has. If Ryan Garcia feels like he was mistreated and these guys don't have his best interest at heart, then let's see whether or not he actually stays with Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy Promotions for his next fight, or whether he makes a shift over to somebody else. But at the end of the day, Ryan Garcia most definitely needs to fight at 140 pounds, but he also needs to just become a better fighter. The reason that he lost that fight was that Gervonta Davis is just a better fighter than he is. And he can say his legs weren't there, but man, come on, man. He doesn't use his legs a lot anyway. And he didn't fight long enough for his legs to be gone. He just kind of lost it and started winging shots at Gervonta Davis, and Gervonta just caught him a couple times and was just a better fighter than him, man. Ain't no shame in losing to one of the best fighters in the world, and that's what Ryan Garcia did, especially if you make a ton of money in doing so. And lashing out at his advisor Lupe, I'm not so sure about that, man, because again, they got him the fight, and I don't believe for anything that Oscar De La Hoya and Bernard Hopkins would have gotten Ryan Garcia that fight. They would have had him fighting somebody else for less money, and he could have been fighting 3-4 times, 5-6 times like Jaime Munguia has for years, and not come anywhere near a fight of that magnitude. So, hey, man, financially and career-wise, financially, it seemed like it was a very, very smart move for Ryan to do that and to capitalize on his appeal before he went and lost to somebody else. Unlike what Oscar De La Hoya and those guys are doing with Jaime Munguia, which is have him fight nobody for year after year after year after year. Like, when is Jaime Munguia actually going to fight somebody? And instead of have Oscar De La Hoya just making up stories about how he was never offered a fight with Jermell Charlo, when Showtime Boxing said that they offered a fight to him for Jaime Munguia and Jermell Charlo. We don't believe you, Oscar. At least I don't believe you. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.